And so the kid's like, Mom, what's she sitting on? What is that thing? Right? And I hear it clear as day. And I go to turn around and I hear the mom say, don't look at her. And takes her hand and like he's pointing at me. He takes her hand and like pushes his hand back, turns him around 180 to like walk down the street away from me.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Different Ability Podcast and Motivation Moment. And if you are not watching this, you should as well, because my amazing guest, Veronica Shier, because let's be real, I had a total blooper before this, and I'm going to be honest, like it's embarrassing, but it's fine. It's fine. She is fun and feisty and full of love and absolutely beautiful. So you also should probably watch this if you are listening. Welcome, Veronica. Thank you so much for being on the Different Ability Podcast today.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. I cannot think of anything that I would rather be doing than this right now. This is incredible.
You're super kind because I straight up bloopered your name before. It's been a long week. Let's be real here. That's not my excuse, but I like totally botched it, which is quite hilarious. So I had to tell everyone. I mean, it's funny.
It was great. No, like, let's be honest. We don't laugh enough. I heard a statistic that children laugh 400 times a day and adults laugh 15 times a day.
Well, I just laughed a lot because we messed up so bad.
You just like gave us a lot of laughter. This is a great. I'm so excited about this.
It's so good. And hey, let's tell the audience a little bit where you are from. Your accent isn't that like noticeable, but I feel like when we do talk, I'm like, oh, I can hear it. I can hear it. Sometimes, not a ton, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, yep, that's where she's from. So I'll point it out if I feel it. It's not as much as I know other people, but either way, I still want everyone to know where you are from and just a little bit. We'll dig into some like stories, but just a little bit about you right now.
Awesome. So I am from Fernie, British Columbia, Canada. I live in the Rocky Mountains. Interestingly enough, so we're all in this together. We're doing things online more. You and I met online, and right, like, which is an incredible, beautiful thing. And so meeting people, I've heard a number of times from Americans that Canadians have accents, and I don't hear it.
You do. Like right this second, no, but there are certain words that you say where I'm like, oh yeah, you're a Canadian. Like,
really?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Not a lot.
Been commented on as well. And I ran a challenge beginning of the summer and had a couple of my friends who are also Canadian on, and people always commented about how they loved our accents.
Yeah. See, people think like, here's the thing. I feel like we both talk pretty similar because we are pretty north. I'm in Wisconsin. You're in Canada. You're in the Rocky Mountains, way cooler than Wisconsin, just saying. But Wisconsin's cool too. Not against it. But there are certain words that get me every time. And I honestly can't even say it. I think if you say it, I'm totally going to call you out in the episode. I'll be like, this is the one. That's the word.
Totally. Yes. I want to know. I love it.
There are. All right. So what else about you? So you're up in Canada in the Rocky Mountains.
Right.
Showed me a little bit where she lives. And oh my gosh, it's like a dream. It's like a dream.
It snowed like 1.5 feet last night.
What?
Fluffy, white, beautiful snow. It's so great.
When COVID's over, I'm coming to visit.
Okay. Yes, you are. 100%.
Cool.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
So a bit more about me. I grew up here, actually. I went away to college a couple times for a few different things. But Fernie always drew me back, and not to Mom's house. Mom lives about 3 minutes away, which is great. She'll call me up and be like, hey, you want to come over for steak tonight? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Please.
yes, I do. Right?
Yes.
It's awesome. And she's wonderful. And so I love it. It's about a town of about 5,000 people. But we're also a resort town. So we have amenities that a town that size shouldn't have. So it feels a lot busier. And so you get like the small town community feel, which is great because I'm all about relationships and relationship building and connection. But there's also like fun and vibrancy and culture and lots of accents, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. I currently work as a life coach and I help individuals move from survival mode to thriving in any and all circumstances. What do you want to know about me? I was born with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. If you want the like technical term for spina bifida, if that's not hard enough for you, just because I like big words,
Yes.
myelomeningocele.
Okay, wait. Say that again.
Myelomeningocele.
So, okay, again, everyone on the Different Ability podcast knows I'm dyslexic. That gives me the sweats.
I didn't ask you to spell it.
No, I know, but thinking about like saying it, reading it, like I love that you can like you're like I love these words, and I'm like big words, no.
Should we stick with spina bifida?
No, I love it all. I love that you said that. That's so good, though. I had to just put that note in there. Like the second you said it, I'm like, oh my god, that's such a big word.
Myelomeningocele.
That is so. I feel like. Side note, I feel like when things are named, especially in like the medical field, I feel like they just put a bunch of letters together and jumble them up and then make up a word. It makes no sense to me. But yes, okay. So can you?
Funny story.
Please tell me.
Quick funny story. I was talking with my mother, not super recently, but recently. Time is a weird thing right now.
Yeah.
And I spelled myelomeningocele on something. We were filling out paperwork or something. And she goes, that's not how you spell it. And I said, yeah, no, that's definitely how you spell it. And she goes, no, I think it's this way. Turns out my mom doesn't even know how to spell my diagnosis. It was close. It was like one letter off, like that's two letters were switched, and it was not, but it was funny.
I mean, in my mind, I'd be like, how would you even know all the letters mix up anyways? It doesn't matter. You know, like, oh my God, I love that. So for people that don't know, and even me, to get more clarification, what is that?
What?
Yeah.
All right. So I have worked with my physiotherapist is an incredible person. I go to her for physio, but we also talk about life. She's like my therapist and my friend, and we just come up with awesome things. We talk about like theology and religion, all kinds of things. Anyways, so she actually came up with this, so I'm giving her full credit for it.
Okay.
Basically, when I was born, this is the medical piece of it. In utero, there was a sac of fluid that developed around my part of my spine, and the nerves in that area then were underdeveloped.
Oh, right? I love that she made it simple.
Well, no, that's the technical term. We're getting to the simple part. Okay?
That's not even simple. Okay, good.
No. So that's right. So then that below that area, it's not those messages don't get there. Mm-hmm. So then when I was in elementary school, my mom would come and talk to my class about it. And she would use the analogy of, remember the telephones that had the cord?
Yep.
I know we're aging ourselves a little bit. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Any kids that are watching this or don't have a clue?
Cords. I'll put a picture below.
That are plugged into the wall, right? What is that? So picture that as your body, right? The part you talked into is the head, is the brain. Then you have the cord, is the spinal cord. And then you have the box, is the body, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you remember, if the cord got damaged at all, then the person on the other end of the phone couldn't hear you. The message doesn't go through. So my spinal cord, all of the nerves that were damaged, that message, your brain sends a signal through your spine to the rest of your body to do stuff. Those nerves, that message doesn't go through.
Yeah.
The
So
body doesn't get the message.
hashtag your spine matters, people.
Hashtag your spine
Your
matters.
spine matters for real.
Take care of your spine.
My chiropractor
Okay.
would be so proud of me by saying that publicly on my
Mine
platform
too.
here.
Mine.
Yes.
We're gonna
So
tag her.
we can take them all.
Tag all.
So
Right?
they knew right away when you were a child, like when you were
Yeah.
born, they knew it because they could see it, whatever.
Yeah.
How was it when you needed to learn to walk?
Right. So basically, so now when people are pregnant, you actually get tested to find out if your child has spina bifida. It's one of the tests they do.
Oh.
Right? I don't know if you've heard. I've never had kids, but all my friends have had kids.
Yep.
And when you get pregnant, you go out, you take a lot of vitamins and whatnot. One of the things is folic acid. You've heard take folic acid. Spina bifida. Spina bifida is caused by a lack of folic acid.
I have learned so much today.
Nothing problems on you. Okay. So my physiotherapist said to me, as we were trying to explain this to kids, because now kids don't get that like telephone reference thing.
Yeah.
Basically, from the rib cage up, I'm on broadband.
Mm-hmm.
Below the rib cage, we're dealing with dial up.
Got it.
The message, it's like it might get through, it might not.
Yep, just a little. It's slower and needs some time. Yep.
Right? You're
Yeah.
listening to the radio and the station's not quite right and it gets fuzzy and you're like,
Yep.
Some of the words are coming through, some are not.
Yeah.
So,
That's a really great way to put it as well, specifically because of the whole telephone reference these days. But I like your telephone reference because my parents still have a house phone with a cord. So just saying.
You get it. Well, even dial-up kids are now like, what is dial-up?
I know. We're gonna have to get some more references.
I know.
I'll
I'm still working on it. You
run them by me. I'll be your sounding board, and I'll be like, yeah, that's good. And then we'll like tell them to like my 9-year-old nephew, and he'll be like, well, what does that mean? Then we know we did it wrong.
Then we know we're gonna go back to the drawing board.
Yes. So okay.
All of that. So you asked about as a kid, right? Like, so I was diagnosed. They actually didn't know when I was born that I had it.
Okay.
Which now like they test for it in utero, all of that. So you prepare. I had to have 2 emergency surgeries within the first weeks of my life.
Okay.
And I was rushed off. I would have been born in the bigger city center hospital 3 hours away. They would have had me there had they known, right?
Sure.
So I had to get air ambulanced, the whole thing. It was I don't remember it, but apparently it was a big deal.
Your parents probably did. So,
right? Yeah. And so in that, then life was we were just kind of they were trying to figure it out. And I would go to the big city 3 hours away, go to Calgary. I was they have an incredible hospital there, that they had a clinic. We'd go once a year and see all the doctors and do the thing. Now, the beauty of it's weird because I would not say, and you and I have discussed this, what the heck is normal? I didn't have a normal childhood, but did anybody? What's normal? Normal's not. Somebody said normal is only a setting on the dryer.
Yes,
I like that.
I like that. Yes.
A friend of mine said that's just a setting on the dryer,
and I don't even use that one either. So, haha, dryer.
Right? Exactly.
I know.
Nobody wants normal.
No.
But in that, as I was growing up, my parents were very intentional about, because they didn't necessarily know what was going on. They didn't know what to expect. Spina bifida it wasn't as well known about. Mm-hmm. I'm older. And so they were trying to figure it out, and their motivation was for me to just be the best me. So we were told I may walk, I may not walk. So myelomeningocele there are 3 types of spina bifida based on severity, and myelomeningocele is the most severe type.
Okay.
I am the best case scenario of the worst case scenario.
Wow.
And so I think the statistic, I could be completely wrong on this, but I think the statistic is like 80% of people with myelomeningocele are in wheelchairs. Full shot,
Wow.
like cannot walk, are paralyzed. Now, I have a power chair that I use about 80% of the time. And it is quality of life, and we're, keeping what I have going for longevity.
Yeah.
And so when I was 13, I went to a camp for kids with spina bifida, and I think there was like 13 of us or 16 of us, and only 3 of us were walking.
Oh my gosh. So I'm so glad you brought that up because I did want to like specifically, like, obviously I know now after we chatted, I have to be honest. I'm very honest on this podcast.
Please.
I had, and you know this, I had no idea. Like because we met online, this is the only way. And by online, we were in a group. It was a speaking thing. I've only known you on Zoom. Like, I mean, I can't see below you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you didn't get up and move because you were doing your magic on Zoom. So this amazing speaking event went well, and you did a great job, by the way. But I had no idea. So when we were chatting on our little pre-meeting, you said something, and I'm like, "Excuse me, what?" Like, because I will say, you are bold, guys. Veronica, she is bold. Okay, she's just like, yeah. So I'd be really good on your podcast. And she probably said it like nicer than that, but like she was like straight up bold like that. And I was like, okay. I was like, let's talk. And then we got talking, and I'm like, I had no idea. And that's what I want people to know too, because again, the big thing, and we've talked about this, and I've talked about this, is that not everyone's, and I'm doing air quotes, disability. And disability is important. We want to keep that word because of the things that you need, the different accommodations people need. I'm not taking away disability, but her different ability, you really can't technically see it, right? I can't see it unless you told me the other night, unless what? You walk.
Unless I walk,
Unless you walk, and you can I mean, even then, I mean, I watched you walk over just a little bit ago. I'm like, I'm not in the same room with you or whatever, but I'm like, okay, but it's not even that apparent. You know what I mean? Like, so you still are living with a different ability that you can't 100% see all the time. So how was that growing up? Were you ever teased as a child that, you do have a different ability, a disability? And you can't see it all the time. You can see it, and you talk about it, which I think is so wonderful. And I mean, I don't know, maybe that hasn't been that way your whole life, but how were you as a kid growing up in the settings of being in a small town? Because I grew up in a small town, 2,000 people. Everyone knew everyone. If your car was on the side of the road, people thought that someone stole you. You had to like her car's on the side of the road. No, her car's in the driveway. It's the same kind of car, whatever. Everyone knows everyone. How was that for you?
Yeah. So again, my parents were really vital they always wanted me to be my best and just show up as me. And so in that, my mom would come to my elementary classes and talk about my disability, talk about what spina bifida was, and do the telephone cord thing. This is back in like the 90s, early 90s. And so there was always a conversation about that, and I was always shown to not shy away from that, because that is part of who I am. It has made me who I am. The things I've had to go through I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be this person without them. And so I do not want bullying in the world, making that really, really clear.
Yeah.
But it exists.
It's real. Yep.
It's real, and it sucked. And children, there was this one kid who called me Duck all the time. He didn't get my name right either, so
oops. It's my
He did it on purpose though, and called me Duck.
No, so can you explain why? I mean, you told me this already, but why would he call you Duck? Because that is a really random thing to say about someone. Right? But after you told me why, first of all, it is terrible why he calls you that, or he called you that, and that's just absolutely terrible. But why would he call you that?
Because I waddle. Because when I walk the short distance, and I actually did not get a power chair until I was 26-ish,
Okay.
25, 26-ish. And it was strictly a decision for my health in maintaining what the strength that I have and being able to give me quality of life and to be able to do and access things that I wanted to be able to access.
Which is
For me,
incredible for you to do
relate.
that. That is
Yeah.
incredible for you to do that. And that is a scary thing to have to do at the age of 26 even. And you've
It
been living your life but you knew my quality of life matters to me. So this
matters.
is what we're going to do so I can have the best life. And look what you're doing now. I mean, you're helping other
Right?
people have their best lives as well. So it's a full circle. But
Yeah.
so that child said that to you, which
So
is
the child said, because I the way that my legs are formed and created and the nerves don't work, the front of my feet don't do anything.
okay.
So I put all my balance on my heels and I kind of do a shuffle
Sure.
along the ground. Like I don't pick up my feet very much because it's harder to balance. My
Mhm.
balance is awful. And so yeah, so this kid and he didn't know better. This is my thing about bullying. So often kids just don't know better.
Mhm.
And truthfully, I think that as parents, as adults, as educators, as friends, it is our responsibility to create. You and I talked about this. We need to create conversation for
Yes.
people, right? My mother was coming in and creating conversation and not shying away from it and saying, yeah, Veronica's different, right?
And she's
And
awesome.
and she probably said that about me, yeah.
I can't wait to meet your mom. I'm
Oh,
have to meet her because
it's gonna happen for sure.
oh,
Like
can I have a steak too, mom?
you come to visit, you're definitely getting a steak.
Oh, okay,
She
thanks.
Side note, she just had her 60th birthday. I threw her an epic, I'm bragging for a second. I threw her an
Please.
epic under 50 because that was the requirement, outdoor, socially isolated concert. My friends, I hired a live band and Shred Kelly, shout out to Shred Kelly. You should look them up. They're incredible.
Oh my
And
God.
I know, super fun. And but I also, because we couldn't have everybody there that she would have wanted and that she deserved because
Mhm.
of the state of the world, I then reached out to everybody else that couldn't come and said, I want you to make her a little video message and my sister put them all together because I'll do the reaching out thing and like the communication part. My sister did the technical part and put it
Yep.
all into a beautiful video. And there were numerous conversations about her steak and
Oh my,
people coming for dinner.
I cannot
And
wait.
yeah, so side note.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
So your mom helped in that. And I love that you said that because creating conversation. And I have to say this in the middle of this episode right now.
do it.
We have so many more things we are going to be doing together because we've already talked about it. I've already been dreaming up things. I know you have been, but to create that conversation
Yeah.
and to celebrate differences and not shy away from them. And if someone, can you share the story about the kid when you were on the street, you were in your chair, and can you tell that story? Because that
Yeah.
is a really impactful story, and I think it'll tie this up really nicely to kind of reaching out to parents and teachers and adults and kids to teach everyone
Mm-hmm.
to be
Yeah.
kinder and
So
yeah.
yeah, no, I'm sharing with you this story, and these are everyday occurrences, and I both of my parents were so supportive of me, and so I grew up with a really strong foundation of who I am and my worth. And my dad actually, he was diagnosed with cancer when I was 2. And so I grew up with him also having health issues through my
Mhm.
whole childhood and being in hospital. Like we were always in hospital together. And, like I learned how to play Nintendo in the hospital waiting room. And then I found out kids had them in their home. And I was not impressed because I thought that was like a benefit of having to be at the hospital.
Oh.
I digress. Anyways, all this to say that there's I've had a lifetime of experiences, and in my advocacy of working, I've worked with kids as an educational assistant. That was my previous job, working with kids with special needs and different abilities, and so I've had all of these interactions, and I've seen just the devastation of what adults can do in their unknowing, and their unknowing of creating a bullying culture and a segregated culture, right? And othering people. And so I was going down the main street where all of our shops are, just a few blocks away, and I was in my power chair. I have a very cool power chair. It's blue like my hair.
It matches and it's beautiful.
I special ordered it. I was like, it's got to be cobalt blue.
Love it.
And her name is Jazz. She's awesome. And so I'm cruising down 2nd Avenue, and I hear behind me kitty corner. I've just crossed the street, and and I hear kitty corner behind me. This little kid, and this happens to me all the time. I hear this little kid go, "Mom, what's that girl sitting on?" Because it's like, it's a comfy. It's like, what was the show Pimp My Ride? That was like the transforming,
like with the really cool like Cadillacs and the
right, like transform. My chair's, it's pretty epic. I'm like sitting on a sofa chair on wheels. Like it's great. And so the kid's like, "Mom, what's she sitting on? What is that thing?" Right? And I hear it clear as day. And I go to turn around, and I hear the mom say, "Don't look at her," and takes her hand, and like he's pointing at me. He takes her hand and like pushes his hand back, turns him around 180 to like walk down the street away from me. Now, is that lady a horrible person? Not at all. Not at all. She thought she was protecting. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. She thought she was protecting me from making me feel different.
But what was she really doing? Because what would you have done if she didn't do that?
She was taking away an opportunity for her son to learn about someone who's different than him. Yeah. I shared this story with you as well. Another time I had a little boy that I was in the park with my mother and cruising down the path on my chair, and this little boy comes out. Him and his dad went swimming in the river, and they come out of the river, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I kind of like, I don't know them super well, but I recognize them from around town, small town, all that. And he looks at me and he's like, "That is so cool." Right? And I'm like, "Thanks. It's my ride." It's like, you have a bike, I have my chair. And he looks at his dad, like no hesitation. He looks at his dad and he goes, "Dad, you know how I created that list for Christmas of things I want? Forget the list. I want one of those."
Oh my gosh. That kid is like, that is the best opportunities right there. That's what's so wonderful what you did right there. Like, first of all, that dad allowed that, which why wouldn't you, first of all? Like, that's huge. And then secondly, that kid had the confidence in himself just to be like, "Hey, what is that?
What is it?"
That's pretty cool.
Kids are curious.
I love that. And what I love about you is that you allow people to talk. I mean, you are so warm and welcoming for people to just say hi. "Hey, what is that?" You don't like, you're not like grouchy and driving around being like, "Get out of my way, beep, beep," like running kids over. You're like, "Hey, how are you?" Like being nice, and you allow and let people in to talk to you about it. And that right there, I mean, that kid was amazing in himself, but you are you are also amazing. I mean, you might be more, but you are also amazing.
He's pretty amazing.
Well, yes, but in the fact that you allowed that child to learn about something that just is different than what he does. And mind you, that is hilarious that he said, "Scrap the whole list. I want that." And then his dad's sitting here like, "You have no idea how much one of those costs, son."
Like so much money.
Like, this is not just like a, "Hey, let me get me one of those." Like, no. Like, yeah.
I said to him after, I was like, "Just buy him all the things on his list. It'll save you so much money."
This Not for now. No.
No.
Like, yes. But no,
No.
I think that is truly, truly incredible. And uh honestly, we are going to talk a million more times. You guys are gonna hear so much more because we have so many more stories to talk about. But I want because we're on these topics of this and we talked a little bit about your history and we're going to get into more of this because there's so much more to learn about you. So we're going to have part 1, 2, 3, 4 through a million, and
We're besties now.
we are, and we're going to be
You're not getting
speaking.
rid of me.
No, I make friends for a living. Like, of course you're my friend.
Right?
Like, and so, but what I want at this end here, and I do want people to know how to connect with you, and we'll go through that too. But at least for right now, because we talked about parents, we talked about your parents being so amazing in your life and supportive. And I love that your mom went into schools to help and teach kids about why you are different. And that's amazing. But then also we talked about the bullying. We talked about, parents on the outside or, um, I'm losing my mind. Adults like as well. What is a message being who you are and your different ability? What is a message that we can leave with people? Like, what would you like to leave? Or do you have a story that you'd like to leave with people? And you left me on a cliffhanger the other day that kind of drove me crazy. So can you not cliffhanger me here now so we can learn more about this story?
Awesome. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I worked as an educational assistant, did that for 8 years. 4 of those were strictly at a specific elementary school. And I have always, as an adult, I have always wanted to advocate for, the underdog. And I see the underdog and recognize and want to build inclusion in any area, whatever that looks like. I'm like, let's bring the people together. How do we do it?
Yes.
And so it was a new school year and I was working in a grade 5 class and the teacher I was working with was incredible. And so I go into the class though, and they had one student who I had actually done childcare for in his growing up years. So he's like 10 at this point, and knew the family, knew his ability, knew his disability, right? And and how much he was capable of. He had autism. He has autism, is nonverbal, and he had an EA that he was working with. So I was assigned to help just the general class with general things. And then he had his own EA that was with him full time. And they were on the side of the class and they had kind of built like a cubicle little area that sectioned him off from the class. And so that it had all his, because he was on a completely different learning plan, IEP, et cetera, et cetera. And so I noticed, I just kind of observed, you mentioned I'm bold. I am bold. And I kind of like to, if I see that there's a way, I'm like, we should do this. Right?
That's why that's why we're going to be best friends, or we already are best friends because I'm the same way.
Totally. Right? Like,
yeah,
I have an idea. Let's do this.
Yes.
But I also was like, okay, know your place, right? Just observe this. Take a minute for a second, see how she goes. And I observed over the next month that there was zero interaction between the class and this kid, between his EA and the class, between his EA and the teacher, between the teacher and him. Like it was as if they were in the same class, but as if they weren't.
Yeah.
And we're like checking the box of inclusion, but it's not really inclusion.
No.
And so now things have come a long way. This is a number of years ago, and about 10 years ago now. And so things have definitely moved in the right direction. But about a month in, I said to the teacher, I said, so tomorrow, can I just do a presentation? It'll take me about 10 minutes with the class, first thing in the morning. I didn't tell her at all what it was. Nothing about what it was regarding, anything. And she just was, sure, yeah, go for it. Right? Because we had a thing. We were vibing. And so she said, yeah, go for it. So the next morning the kids come in and I have everybody get up their desks are in a U shape in the classroom, and then the teacher's desk was at the front and center. So I said, everybody stand up. So we all stand up behind our desks, right? And I said, for the next 5 minutes, you are not allowed to stand on the front of your feet. Right?
Wow.
So picture yourself standing on my heels, right? And you're not allowed to hold onto the table. You're not allowed to hold onto the chair. You're just standing there balancing on your heels. So that's hard enough as it is. Then over the course of the next 5 minutes, I asked them to do a jumping jack. I asked them to bend over and pick they had to drop whatever was on their desk, like a pencil or whatever. Everybody had something, a piece of paper on their desk. I said, drop that. Now bend over and pick it up.
Wow.
Without putting the front of your feet on the ground.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to try this when I get off here. Seriously.
We'll do the bloopers later.
Do the bloopers, yeah. Yes.
So I had them sit in a chair, like sit down in their chair and then get up from the chair. With, again, not holding onto the table, their desks, not, right? Just getting up from a chair. I had them, what else? Oh, I had them just jump. Just jump.
Right on their heels. Oh my gosh. Jump, yes.
Right? It was not very high.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. Did a bunch of tasks. The last thing I asked them to do, I said, okay, now walk around the classroom, the outside of the classroom, in a circle. Everybody walk around. And we get about halfway, and this one kid who I love, you're not supposed to have favorites, but he was definitely one of my favorites. And it was really cute. When he graduated from high school, I went to their grad class. Like, I went to their graduation, and he was so excited. He goes, you promised you'd come, and you came. I know.
Oh.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Anyways, so he says, like, just add a note, bold, and he goes, Miss Shier, why are you making us do this? Nobody has to do this. My feet hurt. And I said, everyone sit down, please. I have to do this.
Wow.
And all of a sudden you can see the light bulbs going off. And they're like, and one kid says, oh, that's why you walk kind of funny. Oh, that's why you have to sit down and we come to you at the back table to get help instead of you coming to our desk. Oh, that's why this. And this is before I had the chair.
Yep.
Right? Before I got my power chair. And all of the light bulbs are going off. And so I said, so then I talked to them about spina bifida, told them all about the spinal, the telephone thing and all of that. And then I said, how does this make our relationship different?
Yep. How
does this affect our relationship? And they said, one kid goes, it doesn't. And I said, but I'm different than you. There are things I can't do that you can do. I cannot run. Mm-hmm. My brain will send a signal. I could have a bear. I was going to say robber, but like we have more bears here than we have people.
Bears.
Like, we have more bears. I could, if I'm being chased by a bear, I am going to get eaten by the bear.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to get attacked. My brain can send all the messages at once. The spine is not getting to my legs.
Yep.
Not going to happen. Right? And so I said, like, there are things I can't do that you can do. I am different.
Yeah.
I am unable. Right? Mm-hmm. That makes it different. That makes us not equal, right? And they go, well, no, because you make us laugh all the time. They're like, we come in, you tell us jokes all the time. And we come in the morning and we tell you about the thing that happened to us, what we ate for dinner last night. And you listen to us just jabber on. And you help us when we need help with our homework. And if we're sad, you listen and you give us hugs. I miss hugs so much.
I know, me too.
I digress. So, right? And I got all these then compliments, which was not really the plan the purpose of what I was doing, but it felt nice anyway, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And I said, and so then I said, okay, so now what about Reed? What about this other kid in the class? And we began this conversation. I said, does Reed have feelings? And they said, well, yeah. And I said, well, how do you know? He can't tell you. He doesn't have words. He can't speak words. And they said, well, yeah, but if he gets mad, he'll like rip up his paper and like stop. Mm-hmm. Or if he gets excited, he jumps up and down like he shakes and has this like giggly scream, high-pitched scream.
Yep.
Right? And so they started to recognize all of the things that he does that are giving that. And I said, okay, well, what would make him have these feelings? Right? Like, what would make him sad?
Yeah.
And they said, well, maybe if no one talks to him.
Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe if no one plays with him at recess. And I was his supervisor at recess, and I happen to know that he spent all of recess and lunch hour walking around the field, which is not great for me.
Yeah, right.
Just throwing that out there was not great for me. That was when I was like, maybe I should get a chair.
Yeah.
This isn't working for me. But he would literally, and not talk to anybody, he would just silently to himself just walk around the field for 45 minutes. And so this then began a discussion of, yeah, he's here. Yeah, he's with us and he's different. And we talked about autism and how he learns and the fact that he can't speak, but that doesn't mean he can't communicate. And we talked about the fact that he does sign language with his EA. And so then the kids were like, hey, well, can we learn sign language? Because then we could say hi to him. And right. And so we brought in someone to teach them some sign language, to do just like, hey, right?
Yes.
And thank you. And so then the kids, they started doing this with him. They'd see him in the hall, they'd say hi, and he'd do it back. And he'd smile. God. And they were seeing him smile. And they would play with him at recess. And it was so funny because every day, because I was with him, for 2 weeks solid, every single day, there'd be a different group in the class that would play with him. There'd be 2 or 3 kids that would play with him. And first week happens every day. A kid would come up to me and say, did you know he's fun to play with?
Oh my God.
Like they thought they were maybe doing something. They were like giving up their time, their fun time to like be nice to him, but actually recognized they were learning from him and were enjoying themselves. And had fun. So that week 1, week 2, right? Then the kids, because we have a smaller school, so we have French immersion. So there was this was grade 5. There's then another grade 5 class that's French immersion. So there's another group of kids that are the same age that are friends with these kids who would come, it'd be recess or lunch, and then they would come to their friend and be like, hey, come play with us. And they're like, oh, we're playing with Reed, come join us. So then other kids who didn't even hear this presentation are now joining in and playing with Reed, and they're making friends, right? And so it just kind of built up. So week 3, it's Monday. I remember it clear as day. It's lunch hour, and nobody plays with Reed. It just happened that way, right? Like it just, it happens. And Reed starts to walk around the field, but he's now crying. Now, everything in me wanted to point it out to the kids and like make it better for Reed. But I also recognized that Reed has to recognize that he's not always going to have somebody there.
Yep.
That he's not always going to have a joyful life. And that every event is not going to be awesome, right? There's not always going to be someone there to play with. There's not always going to be easy times. And so, and it's okay to cry. I'm just going to throw that out there. Yes. Emotions of all kinds are good, right? So I just let him cry, right? He was fine. He was breathing. He was just like, tears were coming down his face. That was not like wailing. He was just sad, right? So the 45 minutes goes by and he's crying. We line up, the bell goes off and we line up. And one of the girls sees and is like, Miss Shier, what happened to Reed? He's sad. What's going on? And I said, well, no one played with him today. And she goes to the rest of the class because they're in the line, right? She's like, guys, nobody played with Reed today and he was crying. Okay. Keep in mind, this is October, like middle of October of the school year. For the remainder of the year, he was not alone for recess or lunch.
Oh my God.
Ever again for the rest of the year.
Okay,
So
my
fast
emotions are
forward,
flying all
I-
over the place.
so fast forward, right? I did this presentation then in 3 other classrooms
Mm-hmm.
that had kids with different abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I did a couple. I think we had a couple students with autism. We had a couple students with Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? We had one student who was in a wheelchair, and yeah, so I did this over the course of the next few months in a few different classrooms. And in one of the other classrooms, due to health stuff and some other things, I had to quit my job as an educational assistant, which was a really, really hard decision to make the following year. But in that, I am so grateful for the time I had. So about a year after I had resigned, I heard from one of the parents that, and I'm still in contact with most of these kids. They see me and it's awesome. I love this community. And but I heard through the grapevine, through some parents, that two little girls, they were in grade 6. They would have been at grade 6 at the time. So they were in the other grade 5 class, or they might have been in grade 4 class when I did the presentation. So it's the beginning of grade 6. And they noticed that there were kids that were lonely at recess, that there were kids by themselves at recess. And they went to their principal and asked the principal if they could get somebody to build buddy benches.
Oh my
So they
gosh.
got a local wood craftsman, I don't know what they're called, carpenter,
Yep.
but like builds these beautiful, like hand carved wooden like cabin like
Yes.
benches. And I believe he built 2, and he put them in the playground, and they were donated. And I think they did some fundraising to like cover the costs of like materials and stuff.
Yeah.
And but he donated his time, I believe. And they put these benches in the playground, one on the elementary side and one on the intermediate side, and then shared with all of the students that if you're feeling lonely, if you want someone to play with, because that's the thing, like the communication, we need communication. It, as the kid who was different, it is so incredibly hard to go up to a group of kids and be like, hey, will someone play with me?
Yes.
It sounds so easy,
It's not.
but it's so not.
No, it's not.
And so they wanted to create a space. The idea was, if you were lonely, if for whatever reason, you just had to sit on the bench. And then the rest of the kids, right? The kids that care, because that's that is my message. Not all kids are bullies.
No.
Right? And not all kids bully people, not all, right? Like, I mean, kids are kids. Kids can be mean. Kids, I have been mean. I am not a perfect human being by any means at all. And but for the kids that they just don't know how to help.
Yes.
They know they want to be inclusive. They know that group of grade 5s, that girl that was like, why is Reed sad? Like, she has a heart for friendship. She has a heart for kids, and she just didn't know what to do. And so this created an opportunity. Then those kids could see, oh, there's a kid on the bench, and say, hey, do you want to come and join us?
Yes, because they know bench means they feel lonely. Come and play with me. Or maybe I just need someone to talk to or listen to me. Or, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful.
I love it. I always get chills.
Literally, like, the feelings in my body are just trying to hold it together. You totally left me cliffhanger. It makes sense why. That is the most beautiful story. I have to share this too real quick. And it just reminds me, my sister, when my nephew was really young, I mean, he still is really young. He's like 8. But when he was really little, I remember my sister telling me, and maybe I was even there, and she would ask Jack, hey, Jack, now if you see someone playing on the playground by themselves, what do you do? And he goes, well, Mom, I just go play with them. And I just thought that was so
Right?
amazing. Like, that's a simple thing to do to teach your kids.
Yeah.
What do you do when you see a kid by themselves on the playground or at
Mhm.
lunch? Well, I just go play with them,
Just go play with them.
teach them at a young age. There's nothing
Right?
wrong with that. Like, now, when you're older, I will say, because I've gotten caught in this, like you see someone like by themselves because they actually want to be, but Nick Talkerson over here is like, hey, want to hang out? And they're like, no. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
all right,
Like,
then. Duly noted.
message received. Like, but like,
Right?
I mean, in that world though, like kids, like, oh, I love that buddy bench thing. That is so amazing. That is so beautiful. By the way, do you have a picture of it? I'd love to include a picture of it. If we do, if you don't, you don't. That's fine.
I mean, I can get one.
Okay, cool.
Like, yeah.
Yes, perfect. But okay, that is the most beautiful way to end this. And this is not ended because, like I said, we have a lot more to talk about and we need to break it up.
I mean,
So we really could. We have so much. I have so many things. I have so many notes over here written down that I want to chat with you and come up with ideas with you. So, in the meantime, though, where can people connect with you at? Where can they find more about you and what you're doing? And maybe they want to learn more about you. And maybe a parent's listening to this and they say, "Oh my gosh, my child has the same disability," or "Oh my goodness, I know someone that has this." And that parent maybe just needs to hear this, like, and learn more about you because again, there's so much more about you. So keep staying tuned, people. We have a lot more, but I just, I want people to connect. If they feel the need, I want them to connect
yeah.
because your story is incredible and the things you are doing now and even in the past are just amazing. So where can people connect with you at?
So the easiest way to connect with me is to go to my website. We're gonna put the links in here.
Everything, yes.
All the things. So you'll have plenty of opportunities. My website is thrivelifecoaching.ca.
Okay.
Connect with me there. Or if you're a Facebook person, I like me some Facebook. This is how we met. Facebook,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Great times. You can look me up, Veronica Shier, or you can look at my page is Thrive Life Coaching, obviously.
Yep.
I just recently started a tribe because we all need more joy in the world. We all need more encouragement and support and community and like just uplifters and encouragers. And so I just created Thrivers Nation. And I would love for you to be, if you guys are feeling like, let's be honest, the world has been hard for the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And for some of us longer than that, but for everybody gets that, this is hard. And if you're feeling like I feel like I'm just in survival mode, I'm keeping my head above the water, but I'm not getting any traction to where I want to go and what I want to do. And like, I'm not thriving. I'm all about thriving, guys. Thriving is my word.
Yes.
I should get it tattooed on me or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my next tattoo. I don't know. Come join Thrivers Nation. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And like I said, or like she said and I said, we will have all the links everywhere. So if you're listening to this, it'll be in the show notes. If you are watching this, it'll be in the description. There will be a blog post. There will be all the places where you can connect with her everywhere. You're gonna be like, who is this girl? And why have I not been following her now already? Like it's gonna be great. But again, I just have to say thank you so much because this was so amazing to just like learn a tiny bit about your life. Like that is like what 0.0% of your life. There's so much more.
One.
Yeah. I guess there's a one. I told you it's been a long week. Yeah, 0.01, 0.1, whatevs. It's whatever.
There's a number.
It's a very small part of your life because you have so many wonderful stories that are going to be shared here on out. And there's going to be other things. I just know it that we're going to be involved in together.
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are. And until next time, everyone, Thank you, Veronica. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm sure so many people just loved this episode as much as I did. I've been trying to keep it together over here, tearing up, wanting to cry, like scream yes every 5 seconds because everything you're saying is so good. Thank you for your time. And I cannot wait until next time because there will be one. Believe you me. And by the way, side note, it is the word about. You do say it very Canadian. I'm just saying.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to go back and listen.
Oh, you will have to. Oh, thank you so much, girl. And I cannot wait to have you back on here. And we will need to collaborate with some more other things. So
I'm totally in for all of the things.
Yes.
So much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye, friend.
Bye. Oh my God, I'm having such a day. Veronica Shier. We're going to edit that out. We're going to start over. Oh my God. Okay, well, thank God it's not live. All right, let's start this over.
I love you.
Oh my God, I love you too. I can't wait. I'll just do this every time wrong and then we'll have to do it over. Okay. Kidding.